have a new remote, so hopefully it'll work. So I'm going to be talking about creative storytelling for community development. This is Yelka. Yelka is 9 years old. She is in the Managua Children's Hospital in Nicaragua. She's undergoing cancer treatment. She doesn't get to see her parents very often. In fact, she only sees her mom once a week because her family is too poor, so they have to work to raise money for the rest of her family, her brothers. Her situation may seem tragic to you, but I want to challenge that and say that it's not good, it's not bad, it just is. This is how Yelka sees her situation. She's happy. She's an energetic child who loves to play with her friends, who loves her family, her country. She loves nature. The typical child. She doesn't see her wealth or lack thereof or her cancer. I want to challenge you in saying that the most important thing right now is community development. I believe that that is the key to change. So what is community development? The International Association for Community Development states that it is a set of practices and methods that focus on harnessing the innate abilities and potential that exist in all human communities. That means that development's within all of us. It is what you make it. How do the rest of us see development? What is it typically seen as? Well, especially in here in Ottawa, you hear the rhetoric of NGOs, charities, CETA, or what was formerly CETA, however we want to look at it. You yourself may donate to charities. You may sponsor a child overseas. You may have gone on a trip to build a school or a well. You may help out with a local organization to help your neighborhood. These are all very true forms of development. On the other hand, though, we hear this other side of development, especially coming out in the news these days. That's that development isn't working, that it's from a West is best mentality. And this mentality is not taking into account what the people actually want, need, or feel is important. Let's look back at Yelka. When I went to visit Yelka, I asked her to paint a picture and tell me what was important to her. In her picture, she put a tree, a basketball, the sun, the Nicaraguan flag, and a picture of her mother. To her, what was important was not wealth, it was not the things that we value here, or we think that they should have, but instead it was playing. It was nature, having safe spaces to be able to walk around, her country, and spending time with her friends and family. This is an example of creative storytelling. So what is creative storytelling? Maybe. Maybe not. Creative storytelling is a simpler way of saying participatory techniques for research and development techniques. Now, you may think that this is just a simple way of somebody coming up and writing a story or telling you about their life, but it can come in any form. It can be in art, it can be in mapping, like we have here, it can be in theater, it can be in storytelling, or any other forms that people want to share their story. Creative storytelling is a way to encourage community participation and collaboration, because with this, you're able to influence change and sustainable change. The great thing about storytelling is that it works with people of all ages and all abilities. So you don't have to be educated, you don't have to be artistic, you don't have to even be literate or able-bodied. You just have to have a story to tell. Now, it works with people of all ages, but through my own experiences, I have found that working with youth is key to empowering the community. Youth themselves are full of hope, energy, enthusiasm, drive, and innate desire for change. And tapping into this is key, I think, for community development. So I'm part of an organization called Recrear. Recrear is an organization that encourages youth to be the agents and catalysts for change that we know that they can be. This organization goes through and talks with youth and sees what it is they feel is important. Last spring, we went to Ecuador. When we were in Ecuador, our goal was to find out the dreams, the hopes, the desires, the influence that youth wants to have on their community, and what they thought was possible. We traveled around to 6 different communities across Ecuador and got some interesting results using creative storytelling. Here's the first example. This was a letter writing activity. In this, we asked the participants to write a letter to the President of the Republic and explain what it is they wanted to see changed. Some of the things that this young girl put on there were paved streets, garbage bins, recreational spaces, housing for women, better social security, things like that. Now, this may not seem like that exciting of a story, but when you take into account everything that's happening in the community around them, you really get a good understanding of how they live. So when you look at this particular community, and the fact that there are gangs running through it, so there are no more safe spaces for kids to play, the value of recreational spaces skyrockets. The same goes for housing with women. There is a large amount of underage pregnancies and domestic violence, but there aren't safe spaces for these women to go to. So suddenly, this simple letter, this list of things, turns into a bigger story and a bigger picture to help us understand the community. Now I'm going to go to another example. This is Mario. Mario lives in the northern part of Ecuador, on the conflict border with Colombia. His community is run by 2 gangs. For this exercise in storytelling, we asked him to pick a word that describes his life and his interaction with his community. He chose the word lucha. That word means to fight. And when we asked him why he chose this, he said, because every day is a fight to do the right thing. It's a fight to be a good person. Now, this picture itself is quite captivating, but the story that this picture unfolded just really pulls at us and helps us understand what he's going through. Because there is a low amount of employment in this community, and the gang life is so present, it is very easy for the people to get enticed into the gang situation. There's friendship with gang life. There's security. Those are things that you can't get just in day-to-day life when there is no employment and there is all this conflict around you. So it's a be part of it or suffer kind of situation. But he is fighting to do the right thing. And he cares about having these safe spaces. This is what's important to him, not what we have ascribed to these communities as what we think is important to them. I'll give you one last example. This is a time wheel. In this activity, we asked the participants to give us an idea of what they do on a day-to-day basis, hour by hour. This time wheel was done by a girl named Claudia. Claudia, like your average teenager, spends a lot of her time watching TV and going on Facebook. In fact, just like over here, most of the time, if you go to a cafe, you can find many teens on Facebook not doing anything particularly important, but just spending their time there. Family time is spent watching soap operas. Now, may not seem like such a bad thing, but when you take into account what the youth are experiencing and what is being put into their minds through these soap operas and this experience, and this is what the family is supporting, and what the only thing they're really getting taken in, it includes independence, but not the kind of independence we would think of. It means leaving the family, underage pregnancies, mistreatment of women, economic situations that are poor, but dealing with them through robberies or criminal activity. So these things are being taken in by the youth and later affecting their choices. So when we look at the social situations, the support systems, the economic systems, and everything that surround these people, beyond just the simple photographs, time wheels, art pieces that we're given, we can get a better sense of what this community is about. So what does all of this mean? Why is creative storytelling important? I believe that creative storytelling is important because it's from the inside out instead of the outside in. It's looking at what matters to people, what is important to them. It's using their drives, their passions, and their experiences to really drive social change, which means it will be long-lasting change because it's what they want, not what we want. In that, like I said before, it works with everyone. Creative storytelling we used with people in rehabilitation centers. We worked with gangs. We worked with people of all ages and all abilities, and all education levels. But like we talked about before with Yelka, the hope, drive, and energy of youth can really push this forward and really make this something for not just individual communities, but for the development field as a whole. If we harness onto the power of youth, we can get rid of this West is best mentality and this need to fix or save them, and just work with what is and what can be. So all in all, I would like to say that I think it is most important that we give a voice to all people, including the youth, in whatever means that is, whether that's through photography, through drama, through art, or whatever aspect they need to have a voice to share their stories. We need to let them know that what they think, feel, and say is important to us, and that we will listen. And that's how we will create social change.